Oh yeah, friends and fam, welcome back to another episode of Captain Coleslaw Outdoors with yours truly. Today on the whys and how-tos, we're going to talk about choosing a personal waterfowl blind. So when I first got into waterfowl hunting, finding birds through scouting was a challenge that I overcame. I had the gun, I had the ammunition, I had the camo, I had enough decoys to kill birds. But the concealment that I had was the big difference between having great days in the field and not even getting a shot at a bird. So since then, I have purchased 3 different blinds, which can be used in a singular way, but you can also share with other people in order to help increase your ability to hide from your quarry. And trust me, when it comes to birds, they can't smell, their hearing isn't great, but you have to conquer their sights, because if you don't, they will beat you. You will not get shots. So what I want to do today is I want to show you guys the 3 different models of hunting blinds that I have in order to help conceal myself from waterfowl, pigeons, crows, and other wing shooting quarry, and the competitive advantages that each blind has compared to the next. Now, I also know that a lot of you guys watching this are pretty young and probably don't have a whole lot of money, so there's a definite price value between the 3 of these, and we'll compare and contrast the price to the advantages that they give you as a hunter. So without further ado, let's take a look at one blind at a time, look at the pros and the cons, and help give you a better feel for what they're all about. So the first blind I want to show you guys is what they call a ghost blind. The ghost blinds are a very affordable type of blind to start. So this is a flock floss ghost blind. I bought this at a Gander Outdoors for $95. So for under $100 you can get a blind here that will allow you to kill birds. I've killed geese out of this, I've killed pigeons out of this, I've killed ducks out of this historically. It's a great little blind and it's the most affordable. This was the first true hunting blind that I bought. And the way it works is this: you have the headrest here, which I actually spray painted with some stencils in order to give it some breakup, but they normally come in like a slate gray color. Then it opens up like a sleeping bag. So you just open the sleeping bag up, you can lay down in it like this, and then you take the mesh, you cover your face up, wait for the birds to show up, and when the birds fly overhead, you pop up and whack them. This blind also has, like the other blinds you're gonna see, these little elastic bands which allow you to stuff plant matter that's found in the local area in order to make your blind blend with the rest of the environment that you're hiding in. The other really nice thing about this blind is that it will fold up into the size of a backpack with 2 straps that you throw on your back. So if you're walking through some thicker terrain or if you have to walk long distances, your legs are not compromised, and it's a very portable blind. The cons with this blind is that getting out of them for a shot can be a little bit of a challenge. So if you have a gun off to your side, chances are you're probably going to be laying there with your arms outside the blind. So you got to be extremely careful not to move too much, because if you do, those birds are going to pick you out and they're going to flare before they get close enough for a shot. Ideally, you'd like to get every square inch of your body concealed in your blind so they have 0 chance of picking up body movement from you. The other thing is, when you pack this guy up with all that plant matter, it doesn't fold up in transport quite as well. So if you walk 4 miles back into a bog to go hunt on a sandbar over some river, and you load this up with cattails, it ain't gonna fold up and walk out the same way that you walked in. So you're probably going to be adding some bulkiness. You're probably going to add close to 10 pounds of plant matter. So you got to be careful about weight and stability. The other thing is, around the head area of these blinds, there's not a whole lot of concealment. These metal bars, you better believe those birds will pick out. And I actually tried to spray paint mine darker browns and blacks in order to kind of break up that shine from the paint that came in the factory. So that's another thing you'll want to try to hide. You want to have no metal, no reflective, shiny surfaces, and if you have any of that, that's going to give you a chance to bust birds or have them bust you. So there's the ghost blind. That's your first blind option. It's affordable, it's lightweight, it packs in, but you gotta work really hard to conceal it, because if you don't, it can be the difference between a good and bad hunt. The next type of blind I want to talk about is what they call a layout blind, also known as a coffin blind. This is Tangle Free's landing zone layout blind. It's their #1 selling layout blind, and for good reason. This thing does everything you could possibly ask for a layout blind. So a layout blind is basically a ghost blind, but the step up. If a ghost blind is a Prius, this is a Ford F-150. Layout blinds typically still have the elastic band, so you can blend this in with plant matter in your surrounding environment. But the big strategy about these layout coffin blinds is that they can disappear in the middle of an open field surrounded by decoys, which is where waterfowl especially love to congregate when there's cut waste grain or fresh grasses for them to be grazing on. You can hide right out in the middle of the field with them, and that is where the birds feel the safest, and that allows you to have a competitive advantage over other hunters who might not have these. Layout blinds, coffin blinds, are really cool because they have these wings that open up like this. There's a nice foot area to cover your feet, nice backrest, nice headrest you can lay down, but as soon as those birds show up, you can disappear into the blind. Now this blind here actually has these flaps right here with Velcro that you can use to completely conceal your face. And then when the birds come over, you just pop right out and blast them. Pros of the layout blind: hands down the best concealment that you can get in the middle of an open space. So my most passionate waterfowl hunting style is chasing Canada geese in the middle of cut cornfields. Well, when you take one of these layout blinds and you put corn stalks, 2 corn stalks facing each direction in each of these bands of the entire blind, this disappears and those birds have no clue that you're there. So when it comes to hiding in the wide open, this blind is bar none the best thing you can get. And you can take this out on your own. You don't need multiple people to run this thing. It weighs about 7 to 10 pounds, so it's not all that heavy to carry. Cons about a layout blind: save your money for them. This is a good layout blind. It also has ventilation on the side, and if you have a flag, which you'll see me hunt with later this year, I can wave the goose flag and then get my arm retracted inside in order to retract for a shot. There's also a foot vent there for the same reason, when you're getting all the dirt and dust out of it. Like, this is a nice blind, and they go for a little bit of money. You can buy this blind for a little bit north of $300, but on sale you can get these things for $200, $250 from Tangle Free, who I'm not sponsored by the way, but I do strongly recommend their products. They are amazing. But there are other brands of layout blinds out there that have varying frame quality, camo quality, material quality. This darn thing, I've hunted in 20-degree Fahrenheit weather, and this polyester material is like double layered. As long as you have good adequate camo, I never get cold in these things. They're like a nice little incubator while you're laying out in the middle of the field, which is important too. So when it comes to layout blinds, you get what you pay for. And no 2 layout blinds are actually created equal. So make sure before you purchase one, you get one that's wide enough, long enough for you. That would be another small thing you want to consider. These come in different sizes for different size people. Pros: you hide as good as you can get in the middle of nothing. The con is you have to pay a little bit, and they're kind of bulky. You can't walk your layout blind 2 miles back into public land. This blind does fold flat, and it does have a strap along the bottom that you can sling over your shoulder in order to carry it, but it's still an awkward piece of equipment to move around. And the last blind I want to show you guys is a panel blind. Panel blind is exactly what it looks like. This is a vertical surface that you hide on the other side of in order to conceal yourself from birds out in front of you. This blind is an amazing blind for hiding up against everything, including tree lines, fence rows, the edges of ponds where there's weeds and cattails that you can hide up against. This is an amazing little blind right here. Now, this is Tangle Free's panel blind. 4 people could easily fit behind this thing. There's an area for you to be watching your birds before you pop up and get a shot. This is a great blind if you are hunting some sort of edge habitat that you want to hide up against. It still has the bands, which allows you to prop plant matter up in there, so you can make this blind disappear just like the others. The other thing about this blind I really like about Tangle Free specifically is that you can make this into a little personal teepee that you can hide it in if you want to hunt out a bit alone. Now, the obvious pros of this blind is there is a ton of surface area camouflage. And because there's more surface area to this thing, it transitions better into the backdrop behind it if concealed properly. So as long as you don't have to be sitting in the wide open, this is a great blind to just disappear against any backdrop whatsoever. I've used panel blinds that I made out of homemade materials like burlap up against tree lines, barnyards, anywhere that the birds want to be. You can use this to hide up against some surface and it works very, very well. Cons of this thing? Well, for one, it's a little big for one guy. This is a pro is that you could fit 4 guys behind this blind, which is great. You can be the party starter in your waterfowl group. But for one guy, this is a lot to handle. It does fold up into a briefcase-sized device, so it's actually pretty easy to move around, but it's pretty big for one guy. It's almost a little too much. In addition, it takes some time to brush this thing in, so make sure if you're going out into public land or you are going into an area where you haven't pre-grassed in your blind, that you do that as soon as you can, as early as you can, to make sure it gets done before the ducks are flying. Most of these blinds are pretty freaking pricey too. So more pricey than a layout blind. So make sure you're saving your money in order to get one of these. So in turn, panel blind pros, hide against any back surface. It's the most comfortable of blinds, being that you can sit and move around and still remain concealed back here. You just need to make sure you give yourself a lot of time to grass this thing in, and in order to make sure that you get the thing installed before the birds are flying, because there's a lot of moving parts. So there's a quick review of the 3 types of hunting blinds that I'm going to be wing shooting out of this year. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Like and subscribe if you learned a little something about choosing these blinds and the advantages and disadvantages of each. Thank you so much. Till next time, shoot straight, stay strong, and that is it. I'll see you on the next one.